Welcome to Short Movie Channel. Our film begins with Ellen, who is walking down the road without knowing where he's going or where he came from. As soon as you look at him, you can tell he's broke and out of work, and that's exactly what he is. Ellen approaches a security guard and starts talking to him, asking if they need anyone to work with them at the location. But the security guard responds that they don't need anyone and continues to mock him and his hair. They also mention that the story he tells about his hair was last seen in the 70s. Ellen gets angry, grabs the security officer, beats him up, and steals the watch from his wrist. He leaves and walks away. As he walks down the road, he feels frustrated, so he decides to search for work everywhere. He starts by checking different places until he finds an office with a sign saying they're hiring. But when he enters and talks to the office manager, unfortunately, the manager rejects him. Ellen tries every possible way to impress the manager, but nothing works. Ellen tells him that his skills are good, but the manager still turns him down. He even offers to work for free for a while, but the manager rejects that too. Ellen leaves, upset and angry, gets into his car, and continues driving until he sees the police and ambulance heading to the same location together. He decides to stop and see what's going on since he has nothing else to do. When he arrives at the scene, he finds a massive accident, but what catches his attention is a person filming everything that's happening. Ellen approaches and asks the person, whose name is Floyd, about the photos and videos he took, asking when they will be posted. Floyd responds that they will be uploaded tomorrow morning for whoever pays first. This idea excites Ellen a lot, so he asks him which station he works for. Floyd tells him that he doesn't work for any station and that he just films accidents and sells the footage to the station that offers the most money. Ellen is eager to team up with Floyd and offers to work as a cameraman with him, but Floyd tells him he doesn't need anyone. Suddenly, Ellen notices that Floyd has a police-like radio device, which sends him information about crimes, and a new crime alert comes in. Floyd quickly gets in his car and heads to the next crime scene. Ellen gets really interested in this line of work. The next day, Ellen sits in front of the TV until the morning to watch the news, and he finds that most of the things he filmed have already been aired. Ellen decides this is going to be his job, so he sells the watch he stole from the security guard and uses the money to buy a video camera and a police-like device to track crimes, their locations, and times. He turns on the device, grabs the camera, and gets in his car, waiting for any signal. When the first crime alert comes in, he rushes to the location. Since it's his first time doing this job and he doesn't know all the rules he should follow, he drives his car right up to the crime scene and gets very close. This is a huge mistake. The officers stop him, yell at him, and he tries to film everything from a close distance. Because this is also a mistake, one of the officers threatens to arrest him if he continues. Ellen moves back, unsure of what to do, but he tries to make a move and capture some shots. Suddenly, a second alert about another accident comes in. He goes there, and when he arrives, he sees the photographer he had seen before. As soon as Floyd sees Ellen, he goes over and argues with him because they both work in the same field. Floyd tells him that he won't be able to handle the consequences of this job, but Ellen tells him he doesn't care. Ellen looks around, imitates Floyd, and tries to take pictures the right way. He actually manages to get a few good shots. When the police try to make all the photographers leave, Ellen and Floyd leave, and he overhears a conversation with one of the channel guys who mentions his offer. This is when he starts to understand the basics of the job and how to market and sell the crime photos he takes. Ellen then heads to a broadcast and television office and enters to meet Sarah, who's in charge of the videos being published. He tells her he has a video of a crime, but at first, she's not interested in his offer. Ellen keeps pleading with her to watch the video, and eventually, Sarah watches it. It's over 10 minutes long, but she can only make sense of about a minute and a half, which clearly shows the crime, the blood, and the murder. Sarah then decides to buy the video from Ellen and asks him how much he wants for it. Ellen replies, asking for $600, but Sarah laughs and says she'll only give him $250. Not because it's a great video, but so he can buy a new camera. This way, he'll be able to film better. She tells him that the video needs to be at least 5 minutes long, and that the crimes he captures need to be bloody for him to get a scoop. She also advises him that it's best he works for himself, like he's doing now, but not be tied to any specific agency. She gives him her number and tells him he can contact her anytime if he has another video. Ellen goes home and spends the next day watching the news on TV until he sees the story he filmed. His interest in the job grows, so he decides to keep going with it and stick to the same routine every day until he saves enough money to buy a new camera and other gear. Once the money starts rolling in, he decides to hire someone to work with him. He hires Mark, a very poor guy who really needs the job. Ellen explains the details of the job to Mark and tells him all he has to do is ride with him in the car, help him with directions, and assist in adjusting the shots. Mark agrees and is very happy. Ellen tells him he'll pay him $30 a day, which is a lot of money for someone like Mark. The very next day, they start working together. They spend the entire day waiting for a call about an accident, until they hear about someone breaking into a house and killing the residents. They head to the scene, and Ellen stays focused on driving, relying on Mark to guide him with directions. Unfortunately, Mark makes a mistake with the directions, but Ellen figures out the correct way to navigate. They finally arrive, and once they get there, Ellen manages to film everything that's happening. He even sneaks into the house unnoticed and films everything inside. After he's done, he goes to Sarah and shows her the tape. However, the tape doesn't impress some of the people working at the channel. But Sarah decides to take it, believing it will be a great way to capture crimes, even though it's not a journalistic scoop. At that point, Eileen starts talking to Sarah, explaining how he spent his whole life not knowing what he wanted. He studied many things and worked in different jobs but was never happy with anything he did. He was always either rejected from jobs or quit them. He says he's finally happy with the work he's doing now. Sarah asks him to focus more on his work so he can produce something better. After that, he starts working harder, the money flows in, and he upgrades his car, buys new equipment, and top-tier cameras. Later, a big accident happens and he and Michael rush there. He manages to capture everything before the police even arrive. He gets to the point where he drags the victim and films them. At that moment, Lord shows up, sees Eileen, and yells at him because Eileen has become better than him and taken his place in all the journalistic scoops. Eileen then goes to Sarah, gives her the video, and she's really impressed by the video and the journalism he's done. The next day, as Eileen is leaving the house, he finds Lord standing at the door waiting for him. Lord talks to Eileen, offering to team up instead of working against each other. He suggests that they work together to capture all the important events happening in the country. But Eileen refuses, saying he prefers to work alone. Eileen then looks into Sarah's background and learns that she moves to a different channel every year. Her contract is about to end in 3 months at the channel. He talks to her kindly, but then threatens her, saying that if she doesn't raise his salary and give him the money he wants, he won't bring her any more big stories. He tells her that he'll give those stories to another channel, and that, in any case, her contract won't be renewed after those 3 months. Sarah agrees to his terms. The next day, Eileen starts moving faster to capture more accidents. There's a major incident he needs to cover, but unfortunately, he arrives too late. Lord has already filmed everything and got the scoop ahead of him. Eileen can't get any details about the incident. The next day, he goes to Sarah's channel, but when he doesn't bring anything about the plane accident, she gets upset and tells him he's no longer a hobbyist because he's not bringing anything exciting to attract the audience. She tells him that, unfortunately, she won't be able to pay him for the footage. Eileen feels discouraged when he hears this. The next day, Eileen starts driving faster to get to accident sites before Lord. He finds out that there's an incident on the direct road. When he stops to film, he realizes that it was Lord who caused the accident. At that moment, he hears through his device that there's an emergency call and they need to get there before the police. Eileen manages to film the people who committed the crime as they leave the villa, and he also captures the car and its license plate. Then he enters the villa and films everything inside. He finds 2 girls murdered, an older man, and a child's room, but the room is empty. He films everything quickly, leaves with Michael before the police arrive, but halfway through, he cuts a piece of the tape showing the car and the two people inside the house, along with the car's number. He immediately goes to Sarah and shows her the tape. Everyone is shocked by what they see. They decide to release it right away. But Eileen tells Sarah that he wants $15,000 for the video, and not only that, he wants to meet the channel owner and all the channel's officials. He also wants to know the name of the company behind the news anchor. He decides to name his company Master Productions for Artistic and Mysterious Crimes. And indeed, she does everything he asks for, even making sure he's present during the video broadcast to watch the host mention his name. After everything is done, she takes him to meet the channel owner. Sarah really does everything he asks. The next day, Eileen stays home knowing the police will come for him. And indeed, Detective Maggie arrives with her assistant. She enters and starts asking him about the footage he recorded. He calmly and politely responds, explaining that the alarm went off, and he went to check what was going on. There, he saw what had happened, but he never intended to film it. He just wanted to help. Of course, he doesn't tell her that he filmed the two criminals leaving his house or that he even got their car's license plate. After the detective leaves, Eileen opens the video of the two criminals and zooms in on their faces and the car's number. He opens an online vehicle registry, types in the car's license plate, and is able to identify the two people. He then decides to create another media scoop, but this time he'll handle it himself. He takes Michael with him, and they go out. Interestingly, Eileen tells Michael that he'll raise his salary, and that now he needs him for an important task. Eileen tells Michael that all he needs to do is follow orders without questioning him. They go together to the criminal's house featured in the video and follow them in the car until they enter a restaurant. At that moment, Eileen calls the police, telling them that he suspects these two are the criminals who committed the murder a few days ago. Eileen asks Michael to get out and film everything, but Michael is afraid and says that if they are the real criminals, it could turn into a massacre, with many people dying. But Eileen doesn't care and tells him to film no matter what, or he won't get paid and will be fired. The police arrive, but only 2 cars and 4 officers enter the restaurant. One of the criminals gets suspicious, pulls out a weapon, and immediately kills everyone in the restaurant. He also manages to kill 2 officers, but one survives. The second criminal flees, and a police officer chases him in a car. Eileen also makes Michael get into the car, and they follow them. They keep chasing until the criminal crashes into a police car and causes an accident. Eileen orders Michael to get out and film, but Michael is terrified. At that moment, Eileen tells him that if he doesn't get out and film, he will kill him. Eileen then reveals how insane and abnormal he is. Reluctantly, Michael gets out to film, but as soon as he steps out, the criminal shoots him because he's not dead yet. Sadly, Michael dies. Meanwhile, Eileen watches everything from a distance. The police arrive and kill the criminal. Eileen then goes to Sarah and hands her the video, and this turns out to be a massive media scoop. However, just minutes later, the detective comes in with her assistant and tells them that she's there to prevent the video from being posted, as what happened was wrong. The 2 criminals might be part of a bigger gang. But Sarah uses her influence and tells the detective that as long as there is no court order, she will post the video and not stop it. The detective then asks Eileen to go with her. She tells him that she knows everything, including that he refused to give her the information, and that he orchestrated the whole situation just to get the footage and create a media scoop. She tells him that he is now a criminal, because many innocent people died because of what he did, and that he caused the death of his assistant, Michael, and is not a normal person. However, Eileen shows no remorse or feeling. After a short period, Eileen becomes one of the most famous photographers, even buying 2 cars to replace his old one and hiring many employees. They all know that working with him means simply following orders and nothing more. And with that, the events of our film today come to an end. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget, if you liked the video, to support us with a like and a subscribe.